Hi, this is Robbie with Tickner Photography. I've been in the market for a new flash for a little while since I was at the nightclub a couple months ago and one of my cameras got smashed into and the flash, my older one, kind of ripped off one of my cameras and went bouncing across the floor. And when it did that, its latch no longer holds, so it can slide off of a camera. It's also the old type of Sony mount, which my A99 Mark II does not have. I also have this is an FM58, so a guide number 58 Sony flash. I really like this one, I've had it for years. But again, it has the old style flash shoe. I have the Sony adapter for it, and it pushes it up just high enough that it shifts the center of balance and it feels a little bit off. So I've been looking for a new one. I've considered the Sony guide number 60, the new one of this, the new version of this. And it's nice, but it's $500. So someone suggested that I try this, a cheaper kind of generic version that works with Sony. It can do most of the wireless functions. So I thought for $119, heck, I'll give it a try. So this is the Godox TT685. It is a guide number 60 flash, which means it's a little bit more powerful than my guide number 58 Sony flash. So it should be comparable to the new Sony guide number 60 flash. So that's awesome. Has tons of really nifty features. So as far as I can tell, it should be very comparable to the new Sony flashes. It does all the TTL flash like it should. It can do wireless TTL through either an optical trigger, or apparently it can do through 2.4 gigahertz wireless. So I don't have any compatible 2.4 gigahertz wireless transceivers or other flashes, but it's neat that it can do that. It apparently can trigger with a couple different brands. The compatibility list for the Sony wireless TTL that this supports are the newer versions, so the next generation beyond what I have. So this is the guide 58, the 60 is the new one. There's a new version of this. I think this is a 42, there's a 43. But the optical wireless standard seems to be pretty standard. So with this, I can still use it, but there are little nuances. So far, I've only been able to use this as a slave. I have not been able to figure out how to use it as the master. Since all of my flashes aren't on their compatibility list, I'm willing to forgive just a little bit here. So if you did have the newer ones, I'm assuming it'll work. So also for the $119, it comes with 3 little diffusion domes and a cleaning cloth, which is kind of nice. Comes in a nice padded case. I wish it had a belt loop. The one that came with my Sony flash has a little thing so you can put it on your belt if you're not wearing it. I've never really used that, but I've thought about it a couple times. Could be a nice feature to have. Otherwise, the case is super padded, really nice. Here it is. Takes 4 AA batteries on the side. It doesn't really show which orientation they go in, so you just kind of have to figure that out. The flash has a fair number of ports here and there. So there's a DC in on the front of it, so I guess if you had an external power pack, you could plug that in, keep it charging. On the side, we have 2 separate types of triggers. So one looks like the audio jack kind of trigger, so you could use this with your wireless remote trigger. There's some other type, and there's also a USB, a micro USB port, and apparently that's for firmware updates. So at some point in the future, you might be able to flash the firmware on this flash and make it even better. And like my Sony flash, it has the wide-angle diffuser and the little white card reflector, so that's cool. The flash can point directly forward, can go down 10 degrees, can also go back, it looks like 10 degrees, and it has the ability to rotate 180 degrees in both directions, which is kind of neat, so you can grab it and twist it. The actual flash shoe, or I guess that's what that's called, appears to be made of plastic, but again, the little adapter thing that Sony sells you for $25 to attach this to this is also plastic. So I'm assuming that's strong quality and that should suffice. The twisty thing that locks it in place is really rugged. So when I attach it to my A99 Mark II and twist it down, it's solid. The flash powers up quickly, it powers off with the camera. The recycle time is not quite as fast as my Sony one, especially if you have it on high-speed sync. Then the recycle time can be upwards of a second between shots, maybe even a little bit more. But under normal power situations, as long as you're not blasting at 100%, it recycles pretty quickly. So far so good. There are a couple times where I was trying to rapid fire it and it couldn't quite keep up, but I think if I lowered the power on the flash a little bit, it would be just fine. So not too bad. Like my Sony flashes, this one also has an infrared illuminator for when it's very dark out. The pattern's a little bit interesting. It's kind of zigzags all over the place, and it works okay for like focal lengths between 24 and maybe 70-ish. So it works pretty good on the 24 to 70 lens. But as soon as I put the 70 to 200 on, the spaces, there's not a point right in the middle, at least with that lens. So as I zoom in, it's not really effective. It doesn't help my focusing at night. But with the 24mm or 50mm, it seems to work okay. Whereas the Sony flash has like a point right smack in the middle that it's able to lock on really quickly. So just little differences. The back of the flash is illuminated very nicely. When it's in standard flash mode, it's illuminated green. If you put it into a receiving mode, so it becomes a slave, it turns red. Kind of a neat distinction. You can really tell very quickly what its mode is. It shows you the distance that it's focusing at. There's a lot of good information on the back of this thing, and the manual is actually not too bad. It kind of explains a lot. There's some nuances there. It's translated from Chinese, I think, but it was translated quite well. And when you zoom in your lens, you can actually hear something in the flash head moving. So it's adjusting how far the flash is from the face. So adjusting the flash beam to accommodate whatever focal length you're using. Firing at full power, it's extraordinarily bright. It illuminates the entire backyard. So all in all, I'm quite happy with this little flash. I've been using it for a couple days just around the house in a couple different environments, and it is working well. The price, can't beat the price. One of these days soon, I would like to take it down to a nightclub and see how it performs in a real world, very difficult environment. See how the infrared illuminator works with people moving around and all kinds of interference. But I think it'll perform quite well. It'll probably suit my needs. I'm gonna go do a little kind of studio setup with it right now, just with a couple speed lights. I have an onion that's been growing crazy on my countertop. So I'm gonna try and do 2 lights, illuminate it really quick, use the wireless features on this thing, and see if I can kind of capture a slightly interesting image. And I'll show you what I get. All right, well, I'm photographing my little onion here. Just have this little setup. I'm experimenting with some of the colored little gel diffuser domes that they provided. But I think I'm able to get something mildly interesting right here, just of my little onion. I have 3 of my speedlights going. I have my Sony one as the master. I have the other 2 as wireless TTL slaves, and they all work quite well. They produce kind of an interesting image of this onion. So now I just need to find a cool angle and hopefully something looks interesting. Let me show you the settings I have on that new flash. So I hope you found this review and kind of first look of the Godox TT685 TTL flash for the Sony A mount somewhat useful. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them below. I'll put a link to Amazon at $119. It seems to be well worth the money. It's pretty solid, so give it a shot. All right, bye.